Hey everyone. So, NHL Free Agency is looming. July 1 will be here before you know it. Um, and there are still some big names left on the market that are going to hit free agency, or at least could hit free agency. At least they haven't re-signed yet. Um, Two big names taken off the market, or Ilya Kovalchuk signed with the Los Angeles Kings the other day, and just today John Carlson has re-signed with the Washington Capitals. So there's two big names off the market, but there are still plenty of solid players that are hitting free agency July 1st, or at least as of right now they're going to. So I figured that now would be a good time to look at the top 10, or my top 10 free agents for this upcoming free agency this offseason. And, you all know who number one is. JT still has not made a decision yet. So as far as we know, as far as right now, he's still set to become a free agent on July 1st. So he is on this list, and he is number one. But the rest of the list, I think, is really interesting, and I think there is a sharp drop-off in play, or in value, after the first 6 or 7 guys. After that, it's the players just aren't as good. So coming in at number 10, my buddy Rick Nash. If you follow this channel at all, you know that I am not a big Rick Nash fan. He got traded at the trade deadline last year from New York to Boston, and he was a disaster for the Bruins. Didn't contribute to that team really at all. And he is set to become an unrestricted free agent July 1st. He is 34 years old. He's a winger. He can play both sides. But why is Rick Nash on this list? Well, Rick Nash is not the player that he used to be, not even close. But I think that he could still provide value to a team in a secondary scoring role as probably a third line winger, somebody who can score 15 to 20 goals as a third liner and maybe get some power play time. And if you can get him on the right deal, if you can get him at a good price, he absolutely could contribute to a team next season and probably for the next couple of years. Is he going to give you much in the playoffs? Doubt it. He's been a terrible playoff performer all of his career. But for the right price on a cheap deal, probably only a 2 or 3 year deal max, he could provide some sort of secondary scoring for a team that would actually make him somewhat valuable. He's a guy that if you could start him on your third line, and then if someone gets injured, you could bump him up into a second line role. He is not a first line winger anymore. He's really struggled the last couple of years. I've read that he is actually mulling retirement, even though he's only 34. It doesn't look like he's going to be back in Boston. I don't want him back in Boston. So I don't know if he's going to even play next year or sign anywhere, but if he does, I think he could potentially, in the right situation, for the right price, bring some secondary scoring value to a team. That's about it, but he's still good enough to be number 10 on this list, even though I'm really not a fan of his at all. In the right situation, I think he could end up being okay. That's if he plays even. Number 9, David Perron from the Vegas Golden Knights. He's a left wing, 30 years old now. David Perron is always a guy that I thought was pretty overrated. People used to talk about him, especially when he was younger in his St. Louis days, and even when he went to the Oilers. People used to think of him as like a good second line scorer, and I'm like, no, I've never seen it. I think he's a solid third line winger. He can give you some decent offense, probably around 40 points or so, but he's really nothing super special, but he's a solid veteran to put on your third line, and I think he could certainly help a team, especially maybe a young and up-and-coming team. You put him as a solid veteran as on your third line, a guy who can give you some scoring, a guy that can give you some good energy, veteran presence. Maybe a young up-and-coming team could add him, and he could help them out a lot and be a good guy in the locker room. He's a decent player, but he's not certainly no superstar. He played for Vegas last year, obviously. He could re-sign in Vegas. I think he fits nicely in Vegas. I don't know what their thinking is on that, but I think that that would be an okay destination for him, or there are other places he certainly could go. He's not somebody I would pay a ton of money for, but at the right price could be a valuable player and a valuable guy in the locker room. Next up, number 8 is Jack Johnson, defenseman. Played for the Columbus Blue Jackets this past year and for the last number of years. He's 31 years old now. He is not the defenseman that he used to be. Johnson used to be he could be a top pair defenseman. He was certainly never a Norris Trophy candidate type, or not somebody who is going to be an elite high-end defenseman, but he could be a solid number 2 at one point in his career. Very good number 3. At this point, I'm looking at Johnson as a bottom pair defenseman, but depth is so important in the NHL, and you can't just throw scrubs in as your 5th and 6th defenseman. It's like having a good 3rd or 4th line center. Having a good 5th and 6th defenseman is very important to being a good team. So just because I'm calling him a bottom pair defenseman doesn't mean I don't think he's any good anymore or that he's not valuable. If you look around the league, all the teams that do really well have solid defensemen 1 through 7 usually, sometimes 1 through 8. So if Johnson can come in at a decent price as your 5th or 6th guy, I think he could still be a solid NHL player. He's certainly not what he used to be. He's not going to score a lot of goals. He's not going to give you a lot of points, but he's decent in his own end. He's a guy who, if he only plays 17, 18 minutes a night, or, maybe even down into 15, 16, he'll be fine, and he can be a solid guy who can kill penalties and really help out a team in that bottom pair and make a team better. And so I think he could be a valuable piece. All right, so now we're to number 7, and the quality of player certainly starts to go up here. Tyler Bozak, he is probably not going back to Toronto. He was a 3rd-line center last year. He has been in Toronto for a long time. He is 32 years old now. You talk about a really solid 3rd-line center. Tyler Bozak is a really solid 3rd-line center. He's good on both ends of the ice. He's not going to wow you with a ton of points, but he's very solid at both ends. He's a quality player, and he is absolutely going to make whoever signs him a better team next year. I don't expect him back in Toronto with Toronto's cap situation, so look for him to be on the move July 1, and look for him to be a very sought-after free agent on July 1. Number 6, Mike Green, Detroit Red Wings defenseman. Another guy who's now 32 years old. Obviously, at one time, Green was an elite offensive defenseman in the NHL back in his Washington Capitals days. He could score goals almost as good as any forward. He is not that player anymore. He is not that explosive, elite offensive D-man, but he's still solid. He can give you some decent offense from the back end. He can play well in his own end. He's certainly no longer, a high-end defenseman. But if you have Mike Green and your second defense pair, you're a team that's in pretty good shape on the back end. And I think wherever he goes, whether he stays in Detroit or goes somewhere else, I think he is going to make a team better next season. Into the top 5 now. Number 5, Pat Maroon. Was an Edmonton Oiler, then had a breakout year with the Edmonton Oilers playing with Connor McDavid. Got traded at the deadline last year to New Jersey. Wasn't super great for the Devils once he got traded there. Certainly was kind of invisible in the playoffs a little bit, but he's a 30-year-old winger. He's a big body, a power forward. Adds physicality to any team while also being able to score goals around the net. And he's probably not going to be a big-time goal scorer unless he plays with a big-time center like he did in Edmonton with McDavid. But he's still a guy who can give you 15 goals or so on your second or third line, maybe even 20 if he has a good year and is with the right players. he can fight, he can hit, he'll be hard on the forecheck. Not the greatest skater, but still a valuable big body around the net in the league. And somebody is going to want him, and he's going to be a good fit on a team somewhere. I wouldn't pay a ton of money for him, but he certainly could help with depth scoring and also physicality. So he's a quality player to bring in. Number 4, James Neal from Vegas, winger. He's 30 years old now also. Had a really, really good year with Vegas this year. Not so great in the playoffs, but he really came back to life this year. He never really left. He was good in Nashville. He was good in Pittsburgh. He's just a solid scoring winger, second liner. I wouldn't have him as a first liner, but he is a textbook second liner. 20 plus goals every year. Veteran player at this point. He's been around the league for a while now. Can't complain at all if you add James Neal onto your team. And I think he's going to make whoever he signs with, whether he re-signs in Vegas or goes elsewhere, he's going to make a team better. And now we're into the top 3, and these are 3 really quality players left on the open market so far. Paul Stastny, his career was really going downhill in St. Louis. He got traded at the deadline to Winnipeg, and he went right back to being the Paul Stastny that he was years ago. He's 32 years old now, but still a quality player, and he showed the end of last season and into the playoffs that he is still a very good hockey player. And he's not going to be getting any super long-term deal or anything, but on a 3 or 4 year deal, I think he can make a team a lot better. Really solid second line center. A team looking for depth down the middle is going to be going after Stastny, and I certainly don't blame them. He is a very solid player. Number 2, probably the best pure goal scorer on the market, or the best goal-scoring winger, I should say. John Tavares is the best everything on the market, I would say, except maybe defenseman or goaltender. But James Van Riemsdyk, coming out of Toronto, where he's played for the last few years, he's a winger, great goal scorer, a guy who can definitely score 30-plus goals. He's 29 years old now, so he's still got some years left. I don't think he's going to be getting an 8-year contract or anything, but I could definitely see a team giving him 5 or 6 years. Really good goal scorer. Like I said, 30 plus every year you should expect from him. He's been as Toronto has gotten better and resurged over the last couple of years. Van Riemsdyk has gotten better and his numbers have gone up. And I think whoever he signs with, because it's not going to be Toronto, whoever he signs with is getting a quality goal scorer when they sign him. And he's gonna a good guy to bring in if you're looking for a second line goal scorer. And number 1, you already know who it is. He is a franchise elite player. New York Islanders center John Tavares. He's only 27 years old. I'm thinking that there is a good chance now that he actually re-signs with the Islanders. The Islanders over the last few weeks have made some serious moves to keep him. They're playing half of their home schedule next year back at Nassau Coliseum, back on the island. They're getting the hell out of Barclays Center, which is really, really good. They fired Garth Snow and Doug Waite, and they've brought in Barry Trotz as the head coach, Lou Lamoriello as the GM. Those are both fantastic moves for the Islanders. I think they had a fantastic draft, especially the first round where they got Oliver Wahlstrom and Noah Dobson back-to-back picks. Great first round for them in the draft. These things could be enough to keep Tavares. Obviously, Matt Barzal's already there. There's a lot. This is a team that, if they can ever figure out their goaltending situation, goes from being a team that misses the playoffs on a regular basis to a team that should be in the playoffs every year. And that could be enough to keep Tavares around. A month ago, I was thinking Tavares was gone, see you later, no chance he would re-sign with the Islanders. Now I'm leaning towards him probably re-signing with the Islanders, but he hasn't signed yet. He is hearing presentations from other teams, including the Toronto Maple Leafs and San Jose Sharks. Those are two that I know of that are going hard after him. If he hits the open market, he is going to get a boatload of money. He is a elite NHL player. He is a franchise player and absolutely the best player in free agency if he makes it that far. So July 1 is a few days away. We will see if any more deals happen before then. We'll see if any trades happen before then. The offseason is off to a pretty hot start. We've had some really big moves already. So I will be keeping track of obviously everything that is going on, and we'll see what happens with any of these players. But these 10 players are the ones who I think are the best available free agents to sign come July 1, assuming that they're all still on the market. So let me know what you guys think about my list in the comments below. Love it, hate it. Either way, it's fine with me. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Follow Off the Wall Hockey on social media and check out offthewallhockey.com. All those links in the description below. Keep spreading the word about this channel. I want it to keep growing. I love watching it grow. So let's keep it going. And thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate every single person who watches my videos and every single view I get. So thank you all for that, and I'll talk to you guys soon.